Hail to thee, Nostalrius, on the shores of OVH. Though your devs were trusty, we watched you disintegrate. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Vanilla Azeroth podcast. And as you guessed it, today we're going to be talking about the greatest vanilla World of Warcraft experience anyone will ever have. And it's over now. It's Nostalrius. And I'm going to make the claim that Nostalrius is the best WoW that we ever had and will ever have for a few different reasons. But first of all, I want to get into what Nostalrius was and what it meant in terms of vanilla WoW. I first heard about Nostalrius, I think I got a video suggested on YouTube, because back in those days, I really wanted good WoW, and I didn't really know anything about private servers. In the old days, private servers, the first private servers, they were trash, right? Like, you'd see videos from them, and everything would just be glitched to shit. Like, you wouldn't be able to get through quests, and, everything was just run by corrupt devs, and it was just, it was not a good scene in the private server world. And even from the videos, you could tell that stuff was off, that things weren't accurate. And so, who wanted to play a weird parody version of Vanilla WoW? Well, anyway, I recall playing retail, and I was going to say mainstream, retail WoW, and it got to the point where, Landlords of Draenor was so bad, and I got to the end of it, and I was like, I just cannot stomach this anymore, and then all of a sudden I saw some video, actually I think it was Supasoka's review of Nostalrius, it might have been his or someone else's review of Nostalrius, and they were talking about how great it was, and they were showing it, and just seeing the person in the review running through and seeing vanilla again, it was like, wow, that's insane. I can't believe that it actually exists again. That's how I remember it. And it's funny because after a decade of degradation and changes that had happened to the game, they did happen gradually enough that you were kind of guilty of not remembering fully how different the original game was. And so seeing it again was such a stark contrast. It was just an immediate shock. And so then my first thoughts were well, I would love to play that, but I'm sure it's going to be way too difficult to download and to figure out, and I'm not a technical wizard, so I probably won't be able to get it to work. Little did I know, one night I kind of figured it out. I was like, oh, it's just a couple clicks, and it was pretty easy, and I got it all installed. And then I was there again. I was at that epic login screen. The Dark Portal was before me once more, and I was so excited. And as I told you, and as the last few episodes have shown, I am sort of dyed-in-the-wool Horde. But that being said, I always had a little teensy bit of resentment that I had to choose Horde. Horde became my home, but I always kind of wondered, those Alliance places look very pretty, and they're kind of cool. So as I thought about it, I was like, hey, maybe this time, maybe Nostalrius represents a second chance at vanilla. I think that's what it was to a lot of people. And I talked to a lot of people in it, and they felt that way. A lot of the people I talked to, it wasn't that they went back and did their first thing that they did in vanilla again. It was that they did that thing in vanilla that they never got a chance to do. It was the second chance. So I started up on Nostalrius. I rolled a human paladin, and it was amazing. I loved playing that paladin. I remember logging in and just immediately being amazed again at how long it took to kill mobs. I was amazed at how many times I missed. I ended up writing down an entire list of all the things that I had forgotten about that were so cool. I remember the first time I was killing a humanoid mob at that vineyard, or at the farm across that little creek, and I remember it running for the first time and aggroing other mobs, and I was shocked and horrified and awed, and I was amazed at it because I'd forgotten that happened, because that just didn't really happen anymore in retail. It wasn't a threat, and even if they pulled more, you could just kill them. But in vanilla, it was like, oh no, that's death or running. And so I was immediately amazed by it. And everyone in Nostalrius, I mean, that thing was flooded with people, and they all love the game. There are people who love the game. There are people who were excited. They were kind. They were happy. The devs cared about every little freaking detail. Didn't matter what it was. They were people who loved vanilla even more than we loved vanilla. And so it was the sort of thing that you were just in awe of, and the fact that it was free and that they were pure and that there were ideals. I mean, it was remarkable. It was the Blizzard we always wanted but never deserved at Nostalrius. And so, I mean, it was an incredible experience. I remember a few memories of Nostalrius. I remember playing through and grouping up again. There was a notion of, oh, we could actually group up for things instead of just trying to solo everything. There was a sense of buffs once more. Oh my goodness, getting buffs, that matters. That's not just an arbitrary thing you can forget to do at the beginning of a dungeon. No. Buffs would be the difference between life and death. I remember once unknowingly getting the buff from, is it Onyxia head, whatever. One of the rating buffs that you just get when you're running through the main world. I can't remember which one it was. That's my point. But I remember then going off to fight and thinking that I was hacking because it was such a huge difference for my low level character. The difference between this one sort of raid buff or not. And it was just remarkable, and people were happy to be together again. People were actually happy to have people in their groups. It wasn't, oh, he's in my group, so he's competing for this or that. It was, oh no, this is amazing. We have a rogue in the group, now we can sap. We have a mage in the group, now we can sheep. We have a paladin in the group, now there's going to be blessings. Like, everyone was excited about what we brought to the table, and each person brought something different to the table. And I remember playing through, experiencing things in vanilla that I never experienced. I never ran the Dead Mines as Horde. No Horde ran the Dead Mines. I mean, I guess some did, but it was very rare because it was such a journey. But oh my goodness, Dead Mines, the Goonies, it was amazing. It was one of the coolest dungeons. And I'd never experienced it before in vanilla. And so experiencing it again, I was astonished. I remember one group, we were in there and we were of the appropriate level, but I don't know, maybe there's some other Horde people like me. But man, we took more than 2 hours to get through it. It was an epic adventure. It really was an adventure. And I just remember, coming around that corner and seeing the ship and everything like that for the first time. And even the Harvest Watchers in the basement or the golems. I mean, that was so cool, those fights. And so it was amazing. Mr. Smite, all these funny things that were there. And Nostalrius, again, just seeing that experience and grouping up with people and the culture of a server again, where everyone kind of knew the culture and there were identifiable people on it, there were famous people on it. It was a wonderful experience to try vanilla again, and they tried so hard and they did such a good job of recreating it. And so I was so thankful for Nostalrius, and just so astonished that Blizzard would close it when they weren't making any money off of it. And I don't care to listen to the Blizzard apologists. It was pathetic that they closed it. And so, I mean, Nostalrius was a beautiful thing, and the day they closed it was like horrific. That was the shocking day. But I have a few contentions about why Nostalrius was better and will be better than Classic WoW. So there's some huge problems with Classic WoW looming, and I know that the shills and the people who just want to be Blizzard streamers are trying to get over it and trying to make any excuse they can for it. But, I mean, just look at what we saw in the demo, and I know they've promised to fix everything, but I think what we really saw in the demo, and this was the root of every difference, was Blizzard doesn't want to make two games. They don't love classic WoW. They don't want to go back and recreate it. They've said that they basically, this is something they're having their arm twisted into doing. They don't want to do it. And so they're just making a sort of patched version of BFA, or Legion or whatever client they're using, and trying to make it kind of vanilla-y. And that's wrong in so many ways. We're going to see just thousands of ways that it's not like vanilla. Unless you're using the 1.12 client, it isn't vanilla. I don't care what you say, it's not going to be the same. And so it's funny seeing all of the excuses they make. One of the funny things is Blizzard, it's classic parent being talked into something by children. And as a parent, I look at Blizzard's responses and I laugh because it's the kind of shit that I say to my children. Just look at some of their answers. So like sharding, what a fundamentally game-destroying feature that is. I remember that was why I just couldn't play anymore. After Pandaria and Landlords, because everything was just phased, right? And I know phasing isn't sharding; it's basically the same fucking thing. All right, so with sharding, I mean, it's just that is the end of an MMO. Period. I mean, if you have sharding, it's just not an MMO anymore. That's the point of the MMO, is to see the other people. It's just a single player game after that, or a cooperative game between a few people. So I mean, the fact that they haven't even said no to sharding, like they've given all those parent responses when your kids, like you have to take your kid to the doctors or something, or the dentist, and they don't want to go. And so they just keep saying like, well, will we, are you sure we're going? Well, who knows, maybe we don't have to go there. We'll see. Or, it's not so bad. And they're just giving these parents responses. And it's pitiful that it's pitiful that the YouTubers and shills are like defending Blizzard at this point when they should be fighting. Anyway. So that's sharding. Sharding was not in Nostalrius. It was amazing to see everyone there together as a real experience. To see everyone on the 1.12 client. Some other issues that they're not doing progressive itemization, as they've said. They are using this weird Franken patch system, which is, I understand that, and even Nostalrius didn't perfectly recreate everything in patches. But just the world. I mean, the fact that they're going to have to recreate everything when they don't care about recreating everything. Like when we had to twist their arm just to give us 2 zones that they didn't even do a good job on for the demo. I mean, it was pitiful, right? Like they just don't get what vanilla is about. They still don't, and they still don't care. I mean, even the ones who do understand what it was. Because it's just, they don't want to do it, right? And so it doesn't matter to them like it matters to us. But anyway, so there's other things too, like spell batching. If you look at their response on it, again, it's such a parent's response. They're like, well, with the client that we have now, it's not really possible to make it like vanilla. But, we're going to try and put that command lower in the chain so that 2 mages could sheep each other. And I mean, what a bullshit parent's response to something like that. It's like, well, it could be like it was originally. Like, it's like seeing a toy snapped in half and gluing it together, and your kid's like, is it going to be the same? And you're like, well, it could be just as good. I mean, it's just nonsense. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be a modern MMO with none of the old charm. And I think getting to the other reason is that the WoW or the Nostalrius devs had to go to so much work with people hacking and exploiting and trying to, and gold selling and all of the things that happened. But those, you need to understand this, otherwise you're not going to get vanilla WoW. Those were a part of the world. That was part of the experience. The reason you had people doing things that were wrong is because you were free. You had liberty. There was openness to the world, and so you could do all of those things. Blizzard now, because of the size that they're at, and being Activision, Of course they hate freedom. Of course they hate liberty. Of course they don't want players to have their own fantasy. That's not giving them any advantages, right? They just want to get rid of the headaches. So it's the difference between being, again, to use the parenting analogy, it's the difference between being able to play freely in your neighborhood and then being fenced in your little playpen in the backyard, because that's safer and easier for everyone, and it gives mommy and daddy less of a headache. But it's not at all as fun for the children. So the whole point in Vanilla WoW was all the fun things, ganking, griefing, exploiting. All of that was a part of the freedom of the world, the openness of the world. MMOs used to almost invite you to try and break them, and try and break the rules, because that made fun things happen. When people killed different NPCs, or when people raided cities, all of that sort of stuff was fun. Because it was people toying with the structure that was there in the world. It was like Grand Theft Auto. It gave people the freedom to do what they wanted to do in a fantasy world but couldn't. And of course now, if you know anything about WoW now, none of that's possible. It's all programmed, and you're all restricted and chained, and everyone has their line that they go in. And so the fact that they're using the modern client, I mean, I feel like that announcement was just proof that we're never going to have Classic aside from private servers. Now, as I think Supasoka made the point of, like, they could put flying mounts in and 90% of you people would still be playing on Classic WoW. I think he's fair in saying that, basically, or basically, whoever said it, I'm not putting words in his mouth. But the point is, whichever person on YouTube said that, the idea is we can't afford, in a sense, to skip Classic WoW or not try it out. So of course I'm going to try it out. Of course I hope I'm wrong. Of course I hope Classic WoW is as good as Nostalrius was. But I think with Nostalrius we had a team that loved Vanilla WoW in a way that no Blizzard devs love Vanilla WoW now. And so it's, and I mean, a lot of Vanilla WoW setting that up is antithetical to their own business interests, right? Like, if you make a game where there's going to be more ganking and griefing and all sorts of stuff like that, and ninjaing, I mean, you're going to get more complaints for GMs. And I mean, as we've seen lately from Blizzard, the goal is to get rid of the staff, not to hire them. And I mean, they're a business, of course that's going to be the goal. So, it's one of those things where I think, Nostalrius was a beautiful experience, and I don't know if we'll ever have that experience again, but we're sure as hell thankful that we had it before, for those of us who enjoyed it. And I think, I kind of hope that, there will always be private servers of 1.12 so that we can still experience vanilla, and I think it's amazing that whoever it was in the Nostalrius world leaked the source code and made it so that there's actually a hope of it being preserved forever in the future. And again, I hope I'm completely wrong and that Classic is great. That'd be fun. I would love to be wrong. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the show today. If you have any requests or anything like that, you can always email me at fruitopiusj at gmail.com and stick around for more. Thanks.